also engaged in various trade negotiations, including with the United States. And one wonders how the bleed from this summit, the posture from the summit, will infuse and influence the outcomes of those trade negotiations. Of course, as you well know, 30% tariff imposed on South Africa. And of course, there was a meeting between Presidents Cyril Ramaphosa, Lula da Silva of Brazil, and the Prime Minister Modi of India. And they all face these very steep reciprocal tariffs from the United States, 30% for South Africa, 50% for India, 50% for Brazil. Where do we go from here? And a good segue to introduce Germany's ambassador to South Africa, Andreas Peschke, who's Chancellor. His head of government is alongside all the other leaders currently in closed session, talking critical minerals, decent work, and the AI future. Ambassador, a very warm welcome to our studio here at SABC News.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Very good. We're very happy to be here.
So let's just go straight from what Park Star was talking about there and the importance of implementation. How do we keep countries accountable to the processes that have been undertaken at the summit? And I was in conversation yesterday with the President's spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya, and he made the point that this has been not just a government summit, but a very inclusive endeavor, right? Civil society has been engaged, business has been engaged, the media has been engaged, the thinkers, right? The T20 has been engaged. It has been an all-of-society approach here by the South Africans because they want the implementation also, the accountability also to be an all of society. What do you make of that?
Well, to be honest, it has been a very broad process. I mean, the G20, if we haven't seen it for yourself, it's hard to believe how broad it can be. I mean, we had the first social summit under the Brazilian presidency, so then South Africa took it up, had a very important social summit, 5,000 participants. Obviously, that's very broad. But then, there were over 160 high-ranking meetings through the course of the presidency, 30 ministerials, now the summit. So it's a very important engagement, and all the guys in our own government who deal with the G20, I mean, there's hundreds actually in the various departments and ministries. And those guys, they're very immersed in the process. It's very broad actually. But the South African presidency also used it very skillfully to really engage with different stakeholders and different groups and to make it a kind of a broad-based presidency. We liked it, although
I'm hearing some doubt in your tone.
No.
Speak your mind, Ambassador.
I speak my mind. Actually, when South Africa took it over, I felt, it's a historic moment. It's the first time the G20 comes to the African continent. It's the first time the summit is hosted. It's really a historic moment. So we have been waiting for this moment for 20 years. And then they take it over. And it's also the worst possible moment to take it over under these geopolitical circumstances.
Right.
So if they had taken over 2 years ago, last year, it would have been like a walk in the park.
Yes.
But now, when they started, I thought, that's going to be very difficult. How are we going to build consensus in this type of condition? And how are going to we use the fact that we are in Africa to really put issues which are important to Africa, like debt issues, like climate fencing, high up on the agenda. But then, I mean, the presidency convinced us. I mean, they did a very good job at the various ministerials. And also at the summit, I mean, we have that leaders' declaration, which fixes many of the deliverables of the presidency. I mean, that's an important moment in time. But the question now is, and you put it to the minister, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
I mean, we need to implement the results.
Ambassador, there's something that your tone has been quite emphatic as a country, Germany, in terms of your support for South Africa's presidency. It has come through. It's been hard to miss. I mean, including some of the social media posts you put out ahead of the arrival of the Chancellor in South Africa, some of which was written in the Sepedi language, I think. Is that born out of the necessity from reading the moment and what the moment calls for, support for South Africa in its presidency, but also linked to it, just doubling down on this partnership between the two countries, as well as roping in Europe, with Germany being an anchor member of the European family?
I mean, times are difficult for all of us. So there's a partner across the Atlantic where we all struggle to build our relationships. You've mentioned the tariffs. So the European Union got 15%, 1.5. but still it's a burden for our businesses. So, but I mean, we have a partnership, a long-standing partnership between Germany and South Africa. We have a long-standing partnership between the EU and South Africa. But so we felt, in this point of moment, this is the moment, you know, to reaffirm our partnership, to be reliable partners, and to take our partnership to the future. So actually, so we do that bilaterally, obviously, but we also pushed within the European Union. This is the moment. So we had the summit in March. And this is actually one of the important things we see in the context of the summit. We had another leaders meeting of the European leaders and President Ramaphosa on Thursday. And there they signed a new agreement, which we have been negotiating throughout the year. It's called the Clean Trade and Investment Partnership. It is supposed to facilitate and encourage and strengthen investments. European investments, German investments here in South Africa, South African investments in Europe. And to address possible obstacles to investments and to take us all forward. And we have committed all Europe, that is member states, European Union, like 12 billion to bolster up to bolster up that partnership. So that's important. We want to be a reliable partner. I mean, for us, partnership is about sustainability. It goes back to the motto of the presidency, sustainability as well. Partnership needs to be long-term, needs to be reliable, and we want to be seen, we want to be partners of that type.
And the rules-based order in terms of all these things, including trade, of course, matters. Speaking of trade and investment, your Chancellor Friedrich Merz announcing a 37 million euro investment in African trade and investment development insurance that we understand is expected to mobilize up to $500 million for investment between German companies and Africa. Speak to that, if you will. I guess that's a positive coming from the Germans here.
Yeah, well, on the bilateral, I mean, obviously, a lot of things is about investment and trade. We all know we need the private sector, we need the enterprises, the companies to come here and to invest. And then we have a G20 initiative, particularly designed to boost private investment on the African continent. It's called the Compact with Africa. It's actually co-chaired by South Africa and by Germany. And then we thought this summit is really a good opportunity to recommit, to give a new impetus to this investment, to this initiative. So we had a moment yesterday in the margin of the summit to get together all the compact countries, chaired by South African and German leaders. So we recommitted, we started the Compact with Africa 2.0. So we want to really take it to another level, integrate new members, link it up with other initiatives like the B20, like the African Union, like the World Bank, really to come broad and make a big thrust to improve investment conditions on the continent.
A bit like a marriage when you renew your vows, right? Before you go, Ambassador, I've got to go to break quickly. We've got the Minister standing by. But before we let you go, I want to ask you about the final concluding statement in that Leaders Summit, in the Leaders Declaration. Quote, "We thank South Africa for its leadership this year. We commit to working together under the United States presidency in 2026 and meeting again in the United Kingdom in 2027 and the Republic of Korea in 2028. What on earth does that mean?
Well, you make it sound very like it was a big thing. Maybe it is.
It's a direct quote.
But the G20 always works also with the Troika. So the South Africans had the presidency. In the Troika were the Brazilians and the Americans. So when the Americans were there at the meetings, I think it was South Africa, America and Brazil. And they were always given the floor first. So during the next presidency, the Troika will be US, South Africa and the UK.
But why not say we're going to see you in Miami?
Well,
and we'll be right back. Ambassador, good to see you. Andreas Peschke, South Africa.
Thank you so much for coming through, Ambassador.
Germany's ambassador to South Africa, being diplomatic there at the end, but of course talking about that trade and investment deal between between Africa and the German
I was looking for
Federation.
that tweet. I battled to find it from the German embassy, but it was to the effect that we look forward to Hochakela Bahwera, to visit our friends. That was the spirit of it all in terms of the announcement. Yeah.
Thank you, Ambassador. And after the break, we'll be in conversation with the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, a man that's got nothing to do these days. Let's speak to Parkstar when we return.
SABC, host broadcaster of the G20 South Africa 2025.